Episode 10 of Hardcore Minecraft. In this episode, I build a town and populate it with villagers. Make sure to stick around till the end of the episode because the result is pretty insane. This video also took me a lot of time and effort to make, so I really appreciate it if you subscribe. Now on with the video. So I was making an Enderman farm and everything was going pretty well if you forget about the Endermite dying like 5 times. But when I was putting the clips into the editing software, I noticed that the files of me building the farm were not there. I tried really hard to locate the files on my computer, but I think I might have deleted them at some point thinking that they were in my backup when they were not. But the thing I was most worried about is for you guys to think that I'm cheating, since the exact same thing happened to Sandiction on his 10th episode as well. But I can assure to everyone watching this that I did not do any of this on purpose. Now with that knowledge, on with the video. The last thing I needed to do before the farm was completed was to place an endermite in a minecart. After getting it in a minecart, I closed it up and the farm was completed. This farm is designed by Shulkercrafts. And now the only thing left to do was to test the farm. And I would say it works pretty well. So yeah, that is the Enderman farm done. The very last thing I wanted to do before I started building the town was to get a wolf. See, I've been in this world for 700 days now and I've been getting pretty lonely. And after a short time looking, I found a wolf, gave him a bone, and dyed him green. I also named him Rexy. It was now time to start building the town, and I knew that this was going to take a lot of wood, so I started to chop, well, a lot of wood. And when I say a lot of wood, I mean I literally cleared up an entire island. This island was once covered by a forest. And yeah, that should be enough. I also mined some stone because I knew I was going to need a lot of that as well. But before I could build the actual structures, I first needed to cover and light up all the caves underground and on the surface. Now that all the caves were lit up and covered, it was time to start building the town. The first thing I'm gonna build is the fisherman house, and I'm thinking that a little deck would look pretty good. And now I can start building the house. So for this house, I'm just going to try and do a simple old-fashioned wood house because I'm thinking that kind of fits the fisherman vibe. Now I can start working on the walls. Now that the walls are done, I can start working on the floor. Now for the roof, I want to make it out of stone stairs because I think that could look pretty nice. And after doing the interior, that is the fisherman house complete. The next house I wanted to build is a more modern house. And after building the frame, I could now start working on the walls. And then it was time to build the floor. And then the roof. After finishing the interior, I started work on the attic. And that is the modern house complete. Now it was time to move on to some smaller builds that would still take up space and serve their purpose in a town. Starting out with this 2-apartment building. And for this building, I'm not going to make it very complicated, so I'll just make 1 oak floor and 1 birch floor. Also, make sure to stick around till the end of the video because later on in the video, I'm going to build a 12-story building. Now for the interior, I'm just going to put a crafting table, a double chest, some furnaces, and a bed. And after that was completed, I wanted to build a shop. And I'm thinking that right here could look pretty good. I'm planning to make this a weapon shop, and I'm thinking the combination of oak wood and cobblestone kind of fits the mood. And I'm also gonna add some birch. Yeah, K-Man, I'm using birch. I mean, hey man, what can you do about it? I still used oak planks for the floor though. And same thing for the roof. The next things I need for the weapon shop are, well, weapons. So I'm gonna have some item frames hung up on the wall, which is how I'm gonna be displaying the weapons. And on top of each item frame, I'm gonna put a sign displaying the cost of the item. And that was the weapon shop completed. Well, almost. The last thing this shop needed was a sign of recognition, aka building a giant wool axe on the roof. And that was the weapon shop completed. Next, I was going to build arguably the best building in the town. I was going to build a 12-story apartment building. So the outline of this entire building is going to be oak logs, and then the floor is going to be birch planks. And after making the shape of the building, I started work on the walls. And for the walls, I'm thinking that stone bricks kind of fit in best. You might be wondering why I'm making another wall over here, and that is because every building needs a staircase to take you to whichever floor you want to go to. And for the roof of each apartment, I'm going to be using birch slabs, that way there is more space and I can use the same amount of birch for twice the area. And for every apartment, I'm gonna have 2 floors. So while there are only 6 apartments, there are still 12 floors. And now I can start making the windows. And then I can build some balconies. For this last floor, I'm gonna build a penthouse. And for the interior, I decided to keep it simple with just a dining table, a crafting table, 2 furnaces, and a bed on the 2nd floor. And that is the design I used for all of the floors except for the 6th one, which is the tallest story, which only has 1 floor because it already has a massive balcony. And that was the building finally completed. Now it's time to move on to the smaller builds. So over here I'm just gonna build kind of the average Minecraft house. Yeah, so that is the house complete. Just try not to look at the beds.
What is that?
Right now I'm building sort of a stone house, and the only point of having it there is that it takes up space. Yeah, there's literally no other reason. And the house was complete. Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever built. Over here, I'm gonna build the house of that one guy who is isolated at the edge of town because he's scared of other people. I'm basically building the Grinch's house. Around the house, I'm gonna put a fence to just really completely isolate whoever's gonna live in this house. Over here, I'm making a little farm, and after finishing the roof, the Grinch's house is complete. Over here, I'm building what is probably the ugliest and most pointless house to ever be built. And for this house, I'm just gonna be building the average Minecraft starter house. After I was done with the house, it was time to build another shop, and I think a bakery shop would fit into a town pretty well. Over here, I'm gonna add some cake. Now that the bakery was completed, I wanted to stick to the theme of putting a symbol on the roof of each shop. I did a diamond axe for the weapon shop, so for the bakery I'm gonna build a giant bread. Not as cool, but it works. That looks pretty nice. Over here I'm building the best thing to ever exist. The thing that literally made Minecraft what it is. I'm building a dirt house.
What the fuck?
Alright, that was quick. For this next house, I'm building sort of that. After I was done with that one, I started work on the next house, and when building this one, I was kind of worried that my screen would shatter because at this point, it was projecting something a whole lot worse than any horror movie out there.
Oh hell no!
Okay, now you might be thinking that it's extremely ugly. If you are thinking that, you would be correct. Yeah, don't ask me what I was thinking the day that I built this house. Quick story, so I was running low on totems and decided to start a raid, and what you're about to see in this clip is the closest I've ever been to dying in my hardcore world. Before I started on the next house, I wanted to make a little river running through the town. And I don't think that looks too bad. And over here I made a little water fountain. Over here I made another water fountain of this guy with water coming out of his mouth. You know, like they have statues of Greek gods with water coming out of their mouth. For this next house, I wanted to do something a bit different. So for this house, I'm gonna make it entirely out of cherry wood. I'm building it exactly how you would a normal house, only that instead of oak or birch, I'm using cherry wood. After I was done with the floor, I started building the outline of the house, which I also made out of cherry logs. And then I made the roof. I also mined out some holes where the windows will be. And after filling in the windows, I finished the roof. I then added a double chest, a furnace, and a smoker. And then I made a purple bed and a dining table. And that was the pink house complete. Over here I'm building yet another shop. Now you might be thinking, you already built 2 shops. What other shop is there to build? Well, you're forgetting the key to Minecraft, mining. So I'm making a mining shop. And you know the drill. If for the weapon shop I built a giant wool axe and for the bakery I made a giant wool bread, it's only fitting to make a giant wool pickaxe for the mining shop. And that is the mining shop done. For the next house, I'm building a better version of the cobblestone house. After I was done with that house, I started to build a farm. Here I'm putting some cauldrons for the animals to drink from. The only thing left to do now is to put some animals in the farm. And that is the farm completed. Over here I decided to make another farm completely outside of the town boundaries. Don't ask me why, I don't know. I think that my intentions were to have the other farm for decoration inside of the town, and to have this farm as a farm where I actually farm and kill animals. Alright, moving on. Now let me ask you, what is the most important building in a town? Correct, it is the hospital where the sick can get treated. I'm making this hospital out of quartz because I think that would look best. After I was done with the floor, I started working on the walls. And after I was done with the walls, I started to work on the roof. I then started work on the hospital rooms. Now you might think that this is a very small hospital. Yeah, I don't care. I then added some windows. Inside the hospital rooms, I also added some beds. Now there is only one thing that this hospital is missing, and that thing is a red cross on top of the roof. And that is the hospital done. I don't really know why I did this, but I guess I just felt like making a nice little garden at the edge of town. Now that all the buildings were completed, it was time to start transporting the villagers into the town. And I'm thinking that minecarts are the best way to do that. And after I had 3 villagers voluntarily staying in this nether house, I decided to deal with them later and do something else in the meantime. Before breeding the villagers, I wanted to make a path to every building in the town with the signs pointing in the direction of each building. And this part is pretty boring, so I'll just skip over it. But before I finished the path, I actually decided to build a villager breeder. And that was the villager breeder completed. Now back to finishing the pathways. And just like that, all the pathways were completed with signs giving directions to every single house. I also added some street lamps that would automatically turn on as soon as it became nighttime and turn off as soon as nighttime was over. And after letting out all of the villagers, the town was 100% completed. Now the last thing I wanted to do was find a wife for Rexy, because that wolf has been sitting in my bedroom for like 200 days. And it really didn't take us very long to find another wolf, so I dyed her pink and named her Pinky. Because she's pink.
Yeah, no Sherlock!
Alright, now I may or may not have spent 2 hours of my life making a wedding island in the sky and getting 2 Minecraft wolves married just cause why not? Yeah, I may or may not have done that. So that's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video because it took me an insanely long time to make. If you enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing. You have no idea how much I would appreciate it. I really do put a ton of effort into these videos, and it would really help me out if you subscribed. So yeah, till next time. Peace.